Did you ever want to know how they choose the Pope? For starters, popes are chosen for life. So a new pope isn't selected until the current pope has either died or resigned, and Pope Benedict XVI was the first pope to do that since Gregory XII in 1415. Now the word pope comes from the Latin word papa, or Greek papas, which is a child's word for father, which is suitable since the pope is the earthly father of the Catholic Church. In order to elect a new pope, the first thing you need is cardinals, not birds or a baseball team. Catholic cardinals are members of the hierarchy of the Church who wear bright red. Collectively, they're known as the College of Cardinals. Although they have many duties, their primary function is to elect the pope. So when the time has come to do that, all the cardinals under the age of 80 come from around the world and gather in Vatican City to choose a man for the position technically known as the Bishop of Rome. Since the earliest days of Christianity, the Bishop of Rome has been the worldwide leader of the Catholic Church. Now, the tradition of choosing the Pope from within the College of Cardinals dates back to the 14th century. But in theory, any baptized male Catholic can be elected. He doesn't have to be a cardinal, a bishop, or even a priest. But if a man who isn't clergy were to be chosen, he would first have to be ordained a priest and then ordained a bishop in order to be able to accept his new role as Bishop of Rome. So, 15 to 20 days after the current pope has either resigned or died, the cardinals enter into what is known as the papal conclave. The word conclave comes from the Latin meaning with a key because the cardinals are locked in the room until they come to a decision. Are they really locked in together that whole time? Well, kinda. Since 1846, the conclave has taken place in the Sistine Chapel inside the Vatican. And while the cardinals do stay in the chapel while they're voting, if the process takes an extended period of time, they're given a few breaks here and there. After all, a 2/3 majority of votes is required for the new pope to be elected, and since there are usually about 120 cardinals in the conclave, it can take a while to reach that majority. Okay, here's the process. On the first day of the conclave, one vote is taken. Once all the votes have been cast, they're counted, the ballots are opened, and the votes read aloud. But if no candidate reaches the 2/3 majority needed, those ballots are burned, and black smoke emanates from the top of the chapel, indicating to the faithful gathered outside in St. Peter's Square and watching from around the world on television and the web that no pope has yet been chosen. If no one receives a 2/3 majority for several days, the process changes. After a mandatory day of prayer, reflection, and dialogue, only the two cardinals who received the most votes in the previous ballot are eligible to be voted on. Finally, once a 2/3 majority of votes is reached, the election concludes. The ballots are burned one last time, but this time it's white smoke that comes from the chimney, and bells are rung to signal to the faithful that a new pope has been elected. He is then ceremoniously asked if he accepts his election as Supreme Pontiff. Once he says yes, the pope then chooses a new name to begin this new stage of his life. Then he goes into a small red room next to the Sistine Chapel and changes into his new papal garb, donning white robes and exchanging his red zucchetto for a white one. Finally, it's announced to the people below and throughout the world, Habemus Papam, we have a pope. The new pope appears on the balcony of St. Peter's, delivering a blessing to the people and perhaps a short speech. And that's how they choose the pope.